Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome back to the Genisus Esports channel here for round 4 of the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship, all the way from the virtual recreation of Hungaroring this week. Of course, last week it was none other than George Boothby who stood on the top step ahead of the likes of Tariq Adam and Luke Whitehead. It's all to play for this week as we head into the final end to the first quarter of this season, round 4 of a 12-round championship. My name is David Christie, and joining me, as always, in the commentary box, is a very warm welcome back to Pello Merioli. Pello, welcome back here to Hungaroring. Again, a 60-minute race that we've got this time on the cards. I think a lot of scores to settle after last week.
Fantastic racetrack. Very, very competitive. We should see some close times, and you're right. A lot of drivers will be carrying a grudge from last week, so it's the perfect day to make a statement today, isn't it?
Yeah, I absolutely is. Of course, we had our last round out there. It was a beautiful effort out at Bathurst at Mount Panorama. We're here at Hungaroring in Hungary. Next week, we're off to Donington. Then it's off to Belgium for Spa. We go to Germany for Nürburgring. Barcelona in Spain again. And then it's Silverstone, Suzuka, Monza and Watkins Glen to round out the season, and that takes us to the end, if you can believe it, ladies and gentlemen, to 2023. 2024 just knocking on the door around the corner, and by which point in a couple of weeks time we should have a good idea of just how things are going to be shaping up. At the moment then, just give you an idea of the standings right now. Luke Whitehead's currently at the top of the table there with 70 points, just 5 points ahead of George Boothby. Philippe Minard in third position with 55 points. Then it's Tariq Adam, after that fantastic second place last week there, gets himself up into P4, and then Luke Addison in P5, Sacha Warner in P6 alongside Cody Sherritt for Genisus Esports in P7, Giovanni Porzio in 8th position. And quickly, good evening to Giovanni, who has been kind enough to grace us with his presence on the YouTube chat, eager to get things started. Trust us as well. Christian Deploy down in 9th position, and then Abe Santiba in that 10th position, sharing that point score of 28 points. So a lot to play for, plenty of points to be gained over the course of the season here. And again, with it being a 60-minute race tonight, it's a little bit more important on the qualifying, I think, here.
For sure, it's coming along as a sprint. You know, now is not a sprint, but it's all about getting yourself in that correct position. You start the race before you actually start the race. You get your qualifying right, get your setups correct, and then you just need to maintain that pace through the first stint of the race.
Yeah, for sure, and that is exactly what they are going to be trying to do here around this 2.72 mile circuit. And have a look at that. That is the first talking point tonight. Absolutely banging it down here at Hungaroring. But Tariq Adam currently fastest at the moment. We've got 5.5 minutes left to go, and Pello, I mean, there's wet, and then this looks like an absolute monsoon out there.
I think we should not classify this as a track today. It looks more like a swimming pool. It shouldn't be cars tonight. It should be boats, ships, whatever we need. But this is such a tough condition to be racing in. You know, I think we spoke about it last week during the race, that it's all about how you get your traction out of the slow corners, how you set up your run. But if the conditions are like this, it becomes infinitely so much more difficult to get the traction correct. We're going to see a lot of cars spinning today, and it makes it just that much more entertaining for us to watch, not so much for the drivers.
Yeah, I can imagine they are going to be struggling out there as well, because they're going to have to not only watch their own performance, but be very, very wary, I think, of some of the cars around them, especially on that run down to turn 1. We'll see if we can grab a car just as it's coming by. In fact, Tariq Adam just coming out the final corner in that number 2. Let's see if we can try and jump on board with him for a lap round here. Now, thankfully for us commentators, no corner names here at Hungaroring. It's just all corner numbers, but we're speeding down the start-finish straight, then on the brakes as soon as you hit that left-hand curbing there, into turn 1, then into turn 1A. It doubled back on itself here, double apex right-hander. This is turn 1A, this long sweeping right-hander, excuse me. Down into turn 2, again you want to be tucked in nice and tight and be very, very patient on the throttle. Expect a couple of cars to spin off here. Then it's a quick, fast right-hander. That is turn 3, and then it is all the way down, all the way on the power to turn 4 here. You can see side by side there. Through the left-hander then, and again a short run down to turn 5, which is a long sweeping radius here into turn 5. 6 and 7 I always can't get caught out with here. It's a tight right-left chicane here. You can take a little bit of the curve on the right-hand side, but you do not want to cut that on the left-hand side. Through 8, and then it's on the brakes into a softer right-hander here at 9. Again, being very, very patient with the throttle. Through 10, that was 10 there, that's jinking left-hander. Then it's round the right-hander at turn 11, onto the accelerator, and then it's last of the late breakers down into 12 here. And again, pulling that car as wide as it'll possibly go, getting as much of the traction as you can. That was 12A, into 13 here. Again, an uphill left-hander here. You want to be as patient as you can on the throttle here. On into 14. And it's an arguably complex and difficult circuit, especially when you get a big crowd here. But Tariq Adam exits turn 14 across the start-finish line there, and that lap was a 150.125, so just 2/100ths of a second slower here. But at the moment, with Luke Addison in second position, Luke Whitehead in third there. Possibly here, Tapello, no surprises to see the two Lukes and George Boothby up at the front of the field here.
No, definitely not. And I think with conditions like this, it's all about the confidence. You know, like we've spoken about it, Tariq looked really good last week in Bathurst, so he's trying to carry over that confidence. But so too did George Boothby, so too did Luke Whitehead, so too did Luke Addison. So it's all about getting that confidence, especially at a track like this, where it's so technical. You know, you sacrifice your high-end top speed. It's all about traction. It's all about grip. And the rain just adds to the need for you to be confident. You know, if you're looking at the gaps between some of these drivers, 1.5 tenths, that's just a breath in a braking zone, and you might just be faster than the next guy.
Yeah, certainly is. We're watching the homing missile himself, Jimmy Holm, in that number 1 Ferrari coming across the line. He goes up into P10 with a 151.220 as well. Great seeing Luke Whitehead with us tonight after his I don't know whether to draw attention to this or not, but his Halloween stream last night, he was having a lot of fun, shall we say. He dressed himself up as a maid, and I'm pretty sure those photos will come back to haunt him many years from now. But check him out on Twitter from then.
I missed that stream.
Yeah, go and have a look on Twitter. You can relive all of all I'm going to say is that if his career in sim racing goes down the tube, then possibly going into OnlyFans, that might be a thing for Luke Whitehead. But still in 4th position just now as we're watching Niall Bullion here for Logistical Nightmare Racing. And that team name, that kind of sums up my career, Tapello, in sim racing.
A logistical nightmare. Is that what we call it these days? Is that what we call it?
Just a nightmare in general, I think.
No, then I think I'll need to find a catchy name for my career so far, because, well, it's been dark, it's been rainy, it's been wet. Let's see how the season goes. Hopefully by end of season, I'll have the best description for my time here.
We need to get you guest starring in one of these rounds here, as Nicholas Manuel comes across line for Genisus Esports. Then in that 21 car, 150.840 is good enough for 6th position. But at the moment, then Tariq Adam pole position by 1/10 of a second from Luke Addison. George Boothby has jumped up into P3 just now. Luke Whitehead is down then in 4th position. Giovanni Porzio in 5th position. That's your top 5 just now as the cars still making their way around here. But, Tapello, I'm looking at these conditions. I've got my concerns that this is what it's going to be like for the 60-minute race here. And if it is, then that turn 1 is going to be very, very dangerous indeed.
Tremendously so. And I think what's so important to understand here, David, is as much as turn 1 is a pinch moment, but it's actually coming out of turn 1, getting the traction down there. A lot of the times you'll see contact going into turn 1, but you'll see a lot of cars losing it going out of turn 1.
That is a very, very good point as we're on board with one of the last remaining qualifying cars right now. 55 seconds left to go. I don't think he's going to have enough time to complete this lap, but we'll certainly wait and see as he is making his way around. And I think he's off the pace anyway, so I don't think he is going to be doing this one. So just a reminder, you can head over to Pitwall at pitwall.live and get yourself the live timings that we use up here in the commentary booth, as well as George Boothby pulls it into the pit lane and he is done and dusted as well. So there we go. Qualifying means that Tariq Adam, after that fantastic outing at Bathurst, Tapello, I think he will be absolutely delighted to be on pole position this week. And we will wait to see them out there on track very, very shortly indeed, as the cars will be heading to the grids just very shortly. Luke Addison will be joining there on that front row, and again we'll be waiting to see them on the grids to take you through the lineup. But it is a healthy lineup this week, 24 cars out there on the grid. Great mix this week again to see almost all marques being represented: McLarens, Ferraris, Lamborghinis. We've got the Mercedes out there as well, and the BMW. But there we go then. And on the front row of the grid then, Tariq Adam leads the fields off with Luke Addison, George Boothby in 3rd position, along with Luke Whitehead. That's row 2. Row 3 is going to be Giovanni Porzio alongside Nicholas Manuel. And then on row 4, it's Henry Meyer alongside Abe Santima. Row 5 is going to be Christian Venter with Sean Schutt in 9th and 10th position respectively. And then in 11th position is Christian Deploy alongside Jimmy Holm in the homing missile in 12th position. 13th position is Wojtek Dvorak. 14th position is Daniel de Matos Preto in the Lamborghini. Then in 15th position is Dan Edwardson in the number 16 BMW. 16 is Paul Venter in the number 17 Mercedes. Love to make it nice and confusing for us up here. Sandro Van Sant is in 17th position in the McLaren. The Ferrari of Fleming Bauer is in 18th position. Row 10 is going to be Jakob Grobler and then Alexander Kuznetsov in the McLaren and the Lamborghini. It's the Mercedes of Jude Neville in the number 12 in 21st position. Martin Lindrup in the number 33 BMW is in P22, and then in P23 Niall Bullion for Logistical Nightmare Racing in the number 10 Mercedes, alongside Philippe Rija in the number 41 McLaren. At the back of the grid there in a beautiful purple liveried car. 30 seconds left to go though, and Tapello, I can imagine that at this point they are going to be feeling a little bit tense, but I think Tapello might be on his way back. I think he's having a little bit of technical issues.
The nerves are difficult to control.
So Tapello is there. Unfortunately, just it looks like a little bit of a delay. Unfortunately, getting with Tapello. So we'll bring him back in as soon as he is all ready and sorted. But Tariq Adam then leads the cars off, and again, these conditions. I'm thinking here, Tapello, they're going to really need to use this lap here as a bit of a sighter, as be able to figure out exactly how much water is on that track there. Okay, so again, we'll get Tapello back in here as soon as we possibly can. We've got a car stopped on the grid there. I'm not sure who that is. That might have been actually Henry Meyer, who has dropped down a little bit to the back of the pack there. And Tariq Adam then making his way around here at Hungaroring, 2.72 miles. And again, it's a case of trying to make sure that the current Genesis 1 and 2 at the moment with him and Luke Addison is maintained. He's got the kind of worrying sight, shall we say, of George Boothby just behind, trying to take that position. He'll be very keen to make that happen and get another win under his belt. Of course, taking the race win at Bathurst last time out. But in the meantime, they're busy making their way through the majority of the circuit. Now, Wojtek Dvorak has actually gone back to pit lane. In fact, it looks like Wojtek Dvorak has disconnected from the session. I don't know if he's had a technical issue or whatever, but Wojtek Dvorak then has dropped out of this race from 13th position. Now, that is... yeah, that's a very, very unfortunate affair. He has reconnected back to the server. You can see him in the pit lane just now. Is at number 23, so he will likely have from the back of the grid. But welcome back to Pello. I was just saying there that these drivers really going to have to use this lap here to figure out exactly what the track is like.
Seems like the drivers are not the only ones struggling today. They're struggling for grip, I'm struggling for connectivity, but we're back. Let's keep it going. This is a very important lap for the drivers. You kind of want to build your confidence. You kind of want to see where your car is, you know, where your grip levels are. And again, we said it last week, we're going to say it again. You just want to keep calm, you know, find yourself, find your rhythm, and just hope that you can start this race in a positive way and avoid being knocked out from turn 1.
Well, fingers crossed, that's exactly what we get. Sandro Van Sand, just to give you an update as well, from P17, he's into pit lane as well, so he'll be starting from the back of the grid. That is 2 cars then that will be starting from pit lane here, but either way, we put that to the back of our mind because round 4 of the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship is about to get underway from a very wet, windy and soggy Hungaroring. Tariq Adam in the pole position just now is going to be leading Luke Addison across the line as they are about to get going. The time screens will update themselves shortly, but away we go then. And Tariq Adam leads the set of cars down. You can see George Boothby in the background, and it is just a swarm of Genisus Esports cars just now as they all come piling into turn 1. That is Luke Addison going very, very... In fact, that was Tariq Adam going very, very wide indeed, as Christian Venter says that he got a drive-through penalty. My initial fear was right. I believe it was Luke Addison that did go very, very wide, not Tariq Adam after all. So Adam back into the lead of this race then, and that now means that George Boothby is in P2, and then just behind there you've got Luke Whitehead and Giovanni Pozzo in there as well. And this is going to make it so important as Jimmy Holm, the homing missile, facing the wrong way around the circuit here. He gets going again, but right at the back of the pack there. And Tapello, again, it just shown how important it is to keep clean and clear on this opening lap here.
It's exactly what we're talking about. You know, you wanna be millimetric about your driving today. You wanna feed that power in. You don't want spins like that. But sometimes in a race like this, a spin like that can actually be to your advantage because it can remove you from the traffic, give you some clean air, give you an opportunity to find your pace and find your rhythm. So let's see how it pans out. Excuse me, for the drivers who have had spins and drivers with drive-through penalties.
Yeah, it's a great point. Taking that pressure off nice and early can actually be a huge boon for some of these drivers. But Jimmy Holm right towards the back of the pack. He's not last yet. That goes to Wojtek Dvorak and the number 32 car who were starting from pit lane. Dan Edfordson, though, through the left-hander there, decides to go very, very, very wide there in the BMW. That was at turn 13. So he decided to just take the scenic route, I think, there. As Christian Venter, it is a drive-through penalty. So into the pits he goes. So Venter for Genisus Esports in the number 22 does serve that drive-through penalty, and I wonder if that was either a penalty from a previous round or if that was for being in the incorrect position during the race start. That might not have actually been his fault, because he was around about the position of one of those cars that decided to head back to pit lane. We'll wait and see anyway as we go back to Dan Edwardson here from Hungaroring's Esports Sim Racing. But other than that, it's been a fairly clean and clear opening lap, and we're already halfway into lap 2 here, Tapello. So for these cars, they've kind of got that hard first lap out of the way.
Yeah, and I think that's how they're setting themselves up for the next 57 minutes. You know, survive your first stint, survive your first lap, survive the first corner. And I think sometimes conditions like this, and we see the Lamborghini just shining white there, in conditions like this, you kind of want to just do that. Take it lap by lap, take it stint by stint, and hopefully you get there in the end.
Oh, this is some tight racing. Alexander Kuznetsov hits Dan Edwardson. The BMW's not going to be happy. The Lamborghini tries to rejoin, almost collects the Mercedes there, the number 12 Mercedes of Jude Neville, who's had a stellar start to the race here, all the way up to P15, P13 actually, just now. So brilliant start there for Neville. And again, that Lamborghini, I think, is going to get some resurgence here from the BMW just behind that. It's actually Lindrup behind in that number 33, Martin Lindrup, who was, I think you can safely say, escorted to the side of the track by that Lamborghini for Sendhelp Motorsports. But at the front of the field, it is still Tariq Adam, 1.7 seconds ahead of George Boothby right now. Luke Whitehead in P3 at the moment, trying to catch on to the back of Boothby. So Boothby under real pressure right now, and Tariq Adam here, Tapello, able to stretch off to the sunset.
Yeah, and I think what's lovely now, we're seeing how different drivers deal with the pressure. We've got a slow car. Was it just a spin right on the pit straight? But I think we're seeing that now, is that, you know, last week we looked at Tariq Adam defending brilliantly. So I think maybe that's his confidence now to try and open a gap early on and try and maintain that today. But there's still a long way to go. 55 minutes in conditions like these seems like a lifetime to go.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on that one. But as we're seeing Jakob Grobler, now that is a livery. That must be a brand new one, as we see Niall Bullion getting passed there by the homing missile, Jimmy Holm himself. That livery on Grobler's car, the 29 McLaren, that is stunning. That has to be a new livery for this week. I certainly don't remember that from last time out at Bathurst.
We might have fallen asleep if we didn't see it last week, but it's stunningly beautiful. It's just a shame that we have to see it in the rain, because I think it would pop immensely during the daylight.
Yeah, for sure. That is a wild, eye-catching livery, and great to give it a little bit of airtime just now. But we're already about 5 minutes into this race. And again, it's just a case of rattling down the laps here just now. George Boothby now still having to put up with some real pressure from Luke Whitehead a little bit further up. But this is Abe Santima here for Thomas Enges Sim Racing onto the back of that 21 Ferrari right now. Nicholas Manuel just in front of him. And again, it's a bit of safety in numbers here, Tapello, because the amount of Genisus Esports cars that are out there in the top 10, I think there's about 6 of them so far, and they're all doing very well. Great flag for that community.
Oh, for sure. And lucky, unlucky, depends on how you want to put it. I got to listen to them just doing some practice before this, and it seemed like they were fairly confident in what they could do in the wet. You know, they kind of relishing the interchanging conditions. I think some of them will not want it to go dry. I think they kind of set up with the red race in mind, but it's awesome representation for the Genisus Esports team. You know, running in the top 10, running fairly comfortable as well with multiple drivers. Someone is definitely very happy up there.
Yeah, I think that is absolutely spot on. As we're watching Daniel D'Amatos Parental here for Genisus Esports, the academy team, and now he has got the number 19 car behind him at the moment, applying a lot of pressure. That is the Ferrari of Sean Schutz just behind at the moment. And again, this is not a track and not a set of conditions that I would want to be under any real pressure at right now, as Grubler getting a 10-second penalty there in that number 29 car. Remember, of course, there is a mandatory pit stop that has to be served during this race at the moment, and again, as the 52 minutes wind their way down, it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays into the strategy of the race here. But we're 3 laps into this hour-long race, as we've got a message from race control. Then 10-second penalty for Grubler is for causing a collision with that number 9 car. So that'll be why we saw the number 9 car spinning on that final corner. Then it was an assisted effort there. We're back to the battle for P2 and P3 right now, though. Luke Whitehead onto the back of George Boothby, and again, it's not a position I want to be in here, Tapello, because I crumble like a cheap suit whenever I'm under any sort of pressure. But George Boothby here showing exactly why he's got such a great name for himself.
I say again, that's why they're racing, and that's why we're commentating, because this level of pressure undoes you, you know. All it takes is a split second for you to just try and see where the driver behind is, and then you lose your line, you lose your braking points, and your race can easily fall apart. But I think what I like here as well is Luke Whitehead is staying so close and he's staying so composed. You're hardly ever seeing him make mistakes. You know, he's holding on to his line, just going a bit over the curb there, which is actually good, because the layout of this track, the curbs on that chicane in turn 6 and 7 used to be really deadly. You did not want to touch them. So with this new iteration, you could go on them a bit. I think we have another message from race control coming up.
Oh, there we go. So that's a 5-second time penalty to the number 9 car. So race control giveth and it taketh away in the same stroke there for Fleming Bauer, who was spun out by that number 29 car, and then the 9 car getting a 5-second time penalty for not holding the brakes and causing a collision with the number 41 there, and that is Philip Reha. Now, just very quickly there, Tapello, the 17th place car, that number 41 that's there. Oh, that's a huge slide there for Sandro Van Sant, starting from the back of the field, unassisted, and again just showing how difficult these conditions can be. Just very quickly on the previous point there, the number 41 car of Philippe Reha, starting from the very back of the field there, and already up to P17 here.
Exactly, and it's what we're talking about. Less pressure, just coming up from the back, you know. You just get out the traffic, you get some clean air, you have no spray, you're with one with the car, and it's just about getting those consistent laps in, lap after lap after lap, and seeing what you can make of the stint. And we see here, looks like it's Dvorak with an overtake. Will he go for the lunge? I think he gets it. Will there be a switch coming up? Oh, there's a switch. Yeah. That's how you defend going into turn 1.
Oh, he's going to try and send it into 2, though. There's going to be contact, and like skittles off into the night then. Grubler is into the field of oncoming traffic.
And then we have another collision there.
Yeah, you can't do that. You cannot do that. That's going to be a penalty there from Grubler and from everyone else involved. Unbelievable scenes there. And again, the thing with that there is, you know, there's the initial contact, which is bad enough, and you're obviously frustrated and you want to get back into it, as we see Dan Edwardson here with a 5-second penalty, but you cannot do that at the consequence of colliding with other people. And Grubler there getting a 10-second penalty almost immediately, and has decided, I think, that enough is enough, and has retired from the race, as has Sandro Van Sant.
And that's a shame. That's a shame. You know, I think we spoke about this last time at a track like Martha's, where it's so extremely tight that those incidents happen. You have contact, and as other drivers try to get past, you know, there's more contact, and it just ruins a lot of people's race. It's an unfortunate thing to see, but unfortunately that's the risk of motorsport. And in conditions like this, incidents like that are more than common. They become the norm, actually.
Watching Dan Edwardson there onto the back of the number 17 car as they go into turn 1. That, of course, being Paul Fenter down into 1A and then into 2. I think a little bit too far back to actually do anything here. We've got more control messages there as Dan Edwardson gets it all wrong going into 5-second time penalty for car 16 for causing a collision with the number 30. That is Alexander Kuznetsov. We saw that earlier on as Niall Bullion coming under real pressure here down into 2. Then there's more contacts and chaos and mayhem and carnage and everything else that you want to use as an adjective to describe this right now. Tapello, not the finest moment for some of these drivers here tonight.
I think we chose the wrong sport tonight. I think we chose the wrong sport for bumper cars today than anything else. But I think we did say the conditions are really tough and these things are going to happen. You have to be so precise under braking that if someone moves, they kind of disturb your line, and it's bound to happen. It's bound to happen in conditions like these.
Yeah, for sure. And again, as we're watching this battle for 5th and 6th position, Giovanni Porzio and Henry Meyer here in the Genisus Esports cars outings here. We've got another message from Race Control. 5-second penalty to car number 30 for causing a collision with the 33. That is the number 30 of Alexander Kuznetsov, and that is against him for the contact with Lindrup in that 33 BMW. So again, everybody is either being victim of getting punted or deciding to punt somebody else here. Everybody with a penalty so far just now. Oh no, even Jimmy Holm has got a 10-second penalty there. The homing missile has struck its target and has got a 10-second penalty. That's going to put Jimmy outside of that top 20 for sure when all this is said and done. Although, with the rate that everyone's getting penalties right now, I actually might have to take that one back. But here is Dan Edwardson then again trying to catch up to the back end of Paul Fenter. We've got another race control message. There's confirmation then to the number 1 causing a collision with that number 9 car. That poor number 9 car has been absolutely battered today. Fleming Bauer, who is no longer with us in the races, in pit lane just now. So it looks like we've got 3 cars retired at the moment. Jaco Grubler, Sandro Van Sant and Fleming Bauer out of the race.
Yeah, and I think that number 9 car is doing its best impression of a Rocky Balboa fight, but I think it's difficult to call today who's busier between the drivers and the stewards because these penalties are coming thick and fast.
Yeah, for sure. And also, I've noticed this, that gap at the front. Tariq Adam with a masterclass right now at the moment. 3.5 seconds in the lead of the race at the moment, ahead of George Boothby, who is ahead of Luke Whitehead. As that's a move for position here. Dan Edwardson tries to get that there from Paul Fenter. The two of them fighting side by side. BMW trying to go around the outside. That's a brave, ballsy move from Dan Edwardson, but can't quite make that happen just now as they come round 14 then to start lap number 8 here, as Fenter has a poor exit out of 14 and Edwardson just too eager, too keen to get onto the throttle and makes a meal out of that one. That puts him into the clutches there of the number 12 Mercedes. Jude Neville trying to have a look here into turn 1. Doesn't do anything with it. I think the BMW just taking a little bit too much speed there and just pushing that car a little bit too hard right now. But again, it's a case of Paul Fenter. All they have to do is just hold on, because that BMW right now, it seems here, just it seems to be its own worst enemy, I think.
Yes, definitely. And I think sometimes that's how you have to defend it. You have to be smooth and let your attacker make the mistakes. Force them into late breaks. Because as we've seen before, especially going into a turn like turn 1, if you brake too late, you're going to go wide and then they can perform the switchback, and then that's how you maintain position. So you don't need to panic. Let your attacker make the mistakes for you.
Yeah, for sure. And that is what I think they're all going to be looking to do, though. But this is your race leader just now with just over 15 minutes gone in the race. We're just over a quarter of the race gone. We're going to be about another quarter of an hour or 10 minutes even before we get into the pit lane and get the pit stop window open just now. But George Boothby still under pressure right now from Luke Whitehead. Not as much pressure though as Giovanni Porzio here in the number 18 Genisus Esports car from the likes of Henry Meyer and Nicholas Manuel just behind there. So 5th, 6th and 7th position here, all fighting it out here for Genisus Esports. And you can see in the background as well, Abe Santima caught in a Genisus Esports sandwich right now, because just behind him, Christian Duploy in the number 5 Ferrari in that 9th position as well, completing the order. As I said, there's about 6 cars here from Genisus Esports in the top 10, maybe even actually 7, and again just doing very, very well at representing that community. Of course, the Kaizen Championship coming from the Japanese ethos of Kaizen, that consistent the consistent movement of bettering yourself, of self-improvement, of evaluation. You do a race, you look over how you performed in the race, and you see how you can improve it for the next one. A wonderful, wonderful theory put into practice here by the community and done to perfection here by a lot of these drivers. Certainly for Tariq Adam, who didn't have the best of starts to the season, but has absolutely shone ever since taking that 2nd place last week and doing a rather grand job. Henry Meyer here, Tapello all over the back of Giovanni Ponzio, but doesn't look to be threatening or trying to make a move here.
I think he's just trying to make sure that Giovanni Ponzio knows he's there. You put your car in different angles so the guy in front just knows that you're there. But I think it's also one of those situations where catching is one thing, passing is another. You can be faster enough but not too fast so that you go past. And look, this track is difficult to overtake at the best of times, but with conditions like this, you really do not want to get off the racing line, because any movement off the racing line and you can easily lose your rear. And with so close to one another, if you lose your position, you're not losing one, you're losing 4 or 5 positions in this race.
Yeah.
Slight contact there again. Ed Parson on Fencer, there was contact, wasn't there? Definitely.
I mean,
it's getting a bit sketchy between those drivers now.
I was watching that, and I was kind of holding my breath, watching how dodgy that was between the 2 of them here. But Dan Edwardson is playing with fire right now. He's already got a 5-second time penalty just now. He's got Neville just behind him, and then Paul Fenter just in front. So again, it's a case of how patient are you going to be. He's got his teammate in the form of Lindrup just behind. But again, it seems to be much later onto the brakes here and sweeps out a little bit wider in that turn 2 than the Mercedes just in front. So Fenter able to live to tell the tale another day here. But again, a much better run from the BMW already alongside with the 2 of them. Dan Edwardson collects into the Mercedes. Again, Tapel, you've got to say, I mean, really a lot of avoidable contact here.
Most definitely, and it's so tough, especially from the commentary position, to judge what exactly is causing the contact. Is it because of the conditions, or is it just the desperation from the drivers to be driving on the front foot? But like you're saying, Dan Edwardson's already racing with a 5-second penalty. I think in this phase of the race, he just needs to stay calm, because nothing can ruin your race like another 5 seconds or another 10-second penalty. And I think we have a message from control. Might be some more discipline coming someone's way.
Yep,
And
Wojtek Dvorak.
Car number 23.
Yeah, Wojtek Dvorak there,
discipline.
getting slapped over the wrists there, Tapello.
Yeah, most definitely. And see, this is what I'm saying. Dan Edvardson has to relax a bit. He's got the 5 seconds. Just drive within himself. Keep calm. Follow at a good distance, but don't force moves, because you risk another penalty coming on, because these stewards are looking at every single move and they're making sure that no bad deed goes unpunished.
And yeah, we've got to say a huge thank you to our race control just now for doing a wonderful, wonderful job of observing everything just now. I think for me, with Dan Edwardson, it is a case of, he's just driving a little bit too aggressively. He's obviously trying to get past Paul Fenter here, but he just doesn't seem to be able to make it work. We've got another message from race control here. 10-second penalty to car 29 for causing a collision with the 22. That is Christian Fenter that has had that, or that was receiving that, and that was for Jakob Grubler, who gets the penalty there. So doesn't happen here. Now, what can happen here with Dan Edwardson? Can he finally get ahead of Paul Fenter here. Goes to the outside this time and goes very, very wide. Almost going to have Lindrop trying to go up his inside here, but again, it's just having to keep calm and try and eventually get that position here. Pit window is open now, so will we see any cars into pit lane to take advantage of the pit stop nice and early? I think, depending on the weather, I would be more inclined to stay out. 10-second penalty to car number 10. That is to Bullion in the Mercedes for causing a collision with the 41. That is Felipe Reha in that 41 McLaren. So again, you're just seeing Jimmy Holm caught in between a rock and a hard place here, because he is quite happy to catch up to the back of this here, but he's got Martin Lindrop ahead of him, power sliding his way in that BMW out of the corner here.
Just trying to make it look good, you know, just trying to make it look good. But you see, what's important now in this phase of the race, David, is the more Fenter and Edvardsen just struggled and fight. You look at Lindrop, you look at Holm, you look at Fenter, they're going to catch up to them really, really quickly. And then it becomes an even bigger situation when now you have 4 cars fighting for the same piece of tarmac.
And on that note as well, you know, the more they fight, the further backwards they're going to go. Whereas we're seeing a different thing from here, from the likes of Portio, Meyer, Manuel, Santima and Christian Duploy, the basically 5th to 10th position. They're all circulating as fast as they possibly can, while not trying to hold themselves up by, you know, wanting to take a position where they possibly can. They know the script here. They can leave it until the final 20 minutes of the race and then decide to battle here. It's all about just getting yourself in that position and being able to hold on to what little you can actually make of this race just now, because, you know, we're nearly at the halfway point already. 36 minutes left to go in this race, so you've got that strategy to play for as well here, as we see Abe Santima going very defensive very early on, making sure that Christian Duploy has absolutely nothing they can do. But I also wonder if that was, in fact, Christian was way too far behind. I wonder if Abe was going deliberately offline to cool his tyres. Are we seeing, it definitely doesn't look like it's raining as much here. Are we seeing a drier line appearing here?
That might be interesting. That might be interesting. And I think every driver now is just trying to get a feel for the conditions. You know, this pit window, there's still some time. There's 16 minutes left on the pit window. You do not want to pit now. You just want to see how this is going to develop, because nothing will kill your race like an extra pit stop because you pit too early and the conditions change while you're still on this.
Oh, absolutely. And we've seen it time and time again as Jimmy Holm is onto the back there of Lindrop just now, as the rain has stopped. It looks like we're going to be into cloudy, overcast weather for the remainder of the race. We'll keep an eye on that for sure. But this is going to be very, very interesting to see when the cars decide to come in and at what set of tyres they decide to put on, as well as that BMW again going very, very wide. We've seen that time and again from Dan Edvardsen, and Lindrop doing exactly the same. So let's take a gamble here, Tapello. Would you be going on to dries at this point in time, or would you still be wanting to stay on wets just now?
No, for sure. It's for dries. Too soon for dries. As much as it's not raining, but the track is still slippery and it's going to catch you out in the braking zones. I say perfect strategy right now is to keep going on these wets. Like I said, you still have 15 minutes to go on the open pit window. Go as long as you can. Leave it to the last moment. If you have 30 seconds as you enter the pit, that's the perfect time to decide whether you're going on the dries or you're going on the wets. But for now, it's too soon for the dries. Whoever does it, they'll be a very brave person, braver than I'll ever be.
I think you and me both on this one, but you can see just how quickly it's opening up. Indeed, they're all moving to the right-hand side then. That's exactly what Abe Santima was doing to try and keep any sort of temperature down in those tyres there. And again, it's going to be a short stint, as we see very, very wide. That was Nicholas Manuel making a mistake, going way too deep into turn one, like candy from a baby. Abe Santima for Thomas Enge. Sim Racing says thank you very much and takes that position, as the Ferrari behind of Manuel tries to seize it back but it's not going to happen there. And that was a really, really nice opportunistic move there from Santima.
Most definitely. And I think we're getting to that phase of the race now. Oh, and we have a BMW off the track right here. I think he might have just gone too deep on the brakes. But we're starting to see some cars come into the pits now. And like I'm saying, it's very tricky because if you're the guys in the front, especially if you're looking at Tariq Adams, you're looking at Boothby, you're thinking, I just need to keep calm and let the race come to me instead of chasing it.
Absolutely. I think you have to just play it by ear for sure, as we're seeing a race leader already coming up to some lap traffic, believe it or not. Philippe Reha about to get a lap put down as we see a yellow flag coming out for Nicolas Bouillon in the number 10 Mercedes at the exit of turn 1. Gets going again. The 41 comes across the start-finish line there. So we've got the number 30 into the pits just now. That is Alexander Kuznetsov. And he will be getting, I would imagine, his dry tyres on. We've got another yellow flag. That's another spin for Niall Bullion in that Mercedes there, this time at 2. And the 41 spins as well. And that is Philippe Reha. So again, these wet weather tyres, I think, just turn into absolute bubble gum right now, because Philippe hasn't pitted yet, so he's still on those wet tyres. But again, maybe just showing what the heat does to these things. Right, let's have a look then as Philippe makes his way around as well. Is he going to make it round without any issue? We cut back to Henry Meyer just now. So as we come up to the halfway point just now, again, we've got just 2 drivers. In fact, only one driver, is only Kuznetsov that's been into the pits just now. We've got this gaggle for 5th to 10th position then. This is Giovanni Porzio, Henry Meyer. We've got Abe Santima moving up to P7. You've got Nicolas Manuel and then Christian Deploy in that 9th position. So again, with these cars here, this is a Genisus Esports sandwich, and Abe Santima in that number 13 McLaren is the juicy filling, you've got to say, in between all of those Ferraris right now. And he will be trying to make himself at the forefront of that sandwich, I can imagine, in the next couple of minutes. But half an hour left to go in this race. And again, Tapello, with what's happened here, I was expecting a lot more chaos, if I'm honest. And I think we've unfortunately lost Tapello again for just now. So again, we'll try and bring Tapello back in as soon as we are able to do so. So apologies about that. But, you know, it's just me for just now. So you'll have to put up with myself, Dave Trusty, for a little bit longer. As we're still watching this fight here. I get the feeling, though, that Abe Santima does think that he can maybe try and get past here Henry Meyer and get past potentially Giovanni Porzio just now. We're back up at the front of this race here. And again, I'm just watching this little battle here. Tariq Adam, I mean, the man is a machine right now. 7 seconds ahead of George Boothby and another 1.1 seconds ahead of Luke Whitehead right now. So 8 seconds covering the top 3. That is a fantastic gap to have at this early stage of the race here, with everyone still having to jump into the pits just now. But have a look at Abe Santima here behind Henry Meyer. He wants to get this position. Meyer going very deep into the brakes. The McLaren decided to take it nice and early. Is it going to be a move here? He decides to cut it up on the inside. There was never going to be any room at the end. But either way, that was a nice little attempt there from Abe Santima. Goes a little bit wide on the exits of the corner there, through 10 and 11 just now as they come along this back stretch here. But Abe Santima destined to try and get up to that 6th position just now. He's got Henry Meyer just in front of him as they come through 12 and 12A respectively. Then on the brakes into 13 as they climb up the hill. Very short little burst. As more cars into pit lane. Boothby has gone into pit lane. Luke Whitehead is into pit lane as well. I think we saw Giovanni Porzio into pit lane. Henry Meyer might as well be into pit lane as well. Santima's into pit lane. So, you know, so many cars. Nicholas Manuel is into pit lane as well. That was actually a lapped car further down. Sandro Van Sands into pit lane as well. As there is Tariq Adam in the McLaren. Now about 8 seconds ahead of George Boothby just now, and that track is pretty much bone dry at the moment. Pretty much absolutely bone dry with everything that is going on just now. And through the chicane, the right-left chicane. And again, with just 8 minutes left to go in the pit stop window for this 4th round of the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship. It's a case of pace management, you've got to say. In fact, not 12 seconds now ahead of Luke Addison, because we've got pit stops into the mix as well here. So, yeah, Tariq Adam in an absolute masterclass right now, as everyone else into pit lane right now. Now, here's going to be the question, is watching the lap times of the cars that have gone into the pit. So George Boothby is one that we will keep an eye on just now, because if he can actually make that work as Tariq Adam into pit lane, and welcome back to Pillow, if George Boothby can make this work, if George can make this work, he might be able to take significant amounts of time out of that gap.
Yeah, for sure. I think now it's all about strategy. You know, we've got through the first stint. It was about keeping your pace. It was about keeping yourself close enough. And now that we're seeing the track drying up, it's all about pace now. I essentially call this a last 25-minute sprint to the end. So it depends on how well you can time your pit stop and how good your pace is on. I'm gonna say it now. I think it might be the time to go on the dry tires.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on that one. I'm going to have to... Oh, it's George Boothby sliding out of that corner there. I'm going to have to just apologise in advance. I do feel like I've got a bit of hiccups coming on here. So we'll try and keep as professional as we possibly can. But if I start making some weird noises, you might not be able to tell the difference from me doing normal commentary anyway. But 6 minutes left to go in that pit window, with 26 minutes left to go in the race. Tariq Adam out of pit lane then. And again, just ahead of, it looks like Luke Addison comes out to pits, but it's going to be George Boothby in that second place. So Boothby, again, does look like he's struggling a little bit on these dry tyres, but I think these are the right ones to have here.
Yeah, I think he just needs to find his rhythm, you know. It's such a huge shock to the system to move from wet tyres to dry tyres. You know, you need to readjust your traction zones, you need to adjust your braking points. So just give him a few laps, 2-3 laps to just find his rhythm, then you should see the pace come pick up again.
So the gap now between Tariq Adam and George Boothby, that's now down to 4 seconds. So that has halved itself in the course of 2 laps here. Shows just how much pace was being lost on those wet weather tyres. And again, we'll have to see where the pace comes down, because it could be George Boothby gets a drive-through penalty. That is absolutely monumental. 2nd place in the championship, and that is a torpedo to the chances there, as we've got Bullion off onto the outskirts of turn 7 as well. But Tapello, drive-through penalty for your 2nd place championship runner. That is huge.
How do we call that? What are we supposed to say? Because that is a shock to the system. You know, he's looking quite comfortable in 2nd place in the race. You're right, 2nd place in the championship as well. And now you've got a drive-through penalty. You've got guys whose pace is steadily picking up. You couldn't have gotten a penalty at a worse time.
I could not agree more with you on that one. So a drive-through penalty then to George Boothby. Let's have a look at the the lap times out of that then. And 147.1. I think it's been when George has been struggling for traction out of the corners. He's obviously breached track limits, and that is what has pushed him over one time too many. I believe anyway. That's the only thing I can imagine on that one. But he goes across the line but it is Luke Whitehead that is around about 0.6 of a second faster than that car in front. And honestly, I'm absolutely speechless at what has just happened there. What I'm also speechless is Abe Santema up to P5. He's absolutely smacked the Genisus Esports team because he's jumped all of them into the pit lane there. That is inspired driving from that number 13 McLaren, and he is off like a shot. I wonder if that is a case that the McLaren is just the car to have now in these dry conditions.
That's very possible. That's very possible. And like we said, sometimes holding on to your strategy and pitting at the most opportune time, because what usually happens is if you have drivers that pit a lap or two too soon, they lose so much pace trying to get heat into their dry tires, trying to get traction. So if you can wait for those 2 laps, and that's probably what we're seeing here with Santema, he changed his tires at the right time and he's got pace when it counts.
And that is exactly what we are seeing here just now as we're watching Christian deploy in the number 5 Ferrari on the back of his teammate Henry Meyer. And then you've got Manuel just up there in the 21 Ferrari as well, as George Boothby takes up the fastest lap of the race in the 24. Still hasn't gone in for his drive-through penalty, and he's going to have to get in very shortly for that, because otherwise he's going to get in some severe trouble, aka he'll be disqualified from the race. I think this is the last lap on which he can serve it. Back to see our very good friend, the homing missile himself, Jimmy Holm, in that 16th position, just behind Christian Fenter and Paul Fenter as well in the 17 and 22 McLaren and Mercedes respectively. But Tapello, 20 minutes left to do, and again, it's Dan Edvardson.
Yellow flag. Yellow flag. We've got a BMW off track. You see, this is why it's so tricky. This is why it's so tricky trying to get onto these dry tires, because as much as the track can be drying out, you do not want to touch the curbs, you do not want to stray a bit too far and get 2 wheels on the grass, because what happens is it'll turn you around faster than you can catch that car.
Exactly, and then you're spun round, and basically you've got nothing but yourself to blame with why they do that. So we've got another 4 cars basically have now gone from the server. Philip Rija is, I believe, still circulating at the moment. In fact, no, Rija is still there. So we have lost Jaco Grubler, we've lost Sandro Van Sant and Fleming Bauer from the race as well. Unbelievable stuff. Right, here comes George Boothby then in for his drive-through penalty. Drops down into pit speed. I wonder if that was quick enough, because you know what it's like. There's nothing worse than getting a drive-through penalty after you've served a drive-through penalty as well. Luke Addison, though, is going to move up into P3 as well, and this is going to feel like an absolute age for George Boothby. Is he going to get ahead of Abe Santema? I don't think he is. I think Abe Santema is going to take P4 just now, and that is going to be an absolute sucker punch, because comes out of pit lane, and even Giovanni Porzio goes ahead of George Boothby, who just comes out of the pit there. And again, that's a very difficult pill for George Boothby to swallow there.
And what does that kind of thing do to your confidence? You've been driving so well. Yes, the conditions got the better of you, but now you've lost, 3, 4, 5 positions? That's 2 positions lost. You've got drivers nearby you, behind you. You're under pressure, and you kind of need to find yourself again. But it's so difficult, because you want to capitalize, you want to go forward, you want to go for the overtake, but you risk another penalty by being too aggressive.
That is the question that's going to be on the lips of George Boothby and I imagine all of his fans tonight. If you have just joined us, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to round 4 of the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship here from Hungaroring. A 16-minute race here tonight that we've had. Our pit stop window has come and gone. Everyone is onto dry tyres now. It was torrential rain at the start of this race, and we've loved every single minute of it so far. David Christie here in the commentary box alongside my good friend Tapelo Marioli here for the next 19 minutes of all that is about to unfold there. George Boothby getting a drive-through penalty just after that round of pit stops. Tariq Adam though out in the lead of this race, a dominant start to this round 4 here, 4.8 seconds ahead of Luke Whitehead. But does that Lamborghini have enough in the tank to catch up? Behind then is Luke Addison, another 7 seconds, another 11 seconds, behind Luke Whitehead just now. Luke Whitehead currently fastest driver on track, and realistically, if you're Tariq Adam, surely you're just going to be managing the pace at this point in time.
I feel Tariq is bored, and maybe he wants the commentary team to just say hi to him at this point, because he's done such a good job that we kind of forgotten that he's been in the race. And maybe that's what you need sometimes. I said it last week and I'll say it again. Sometimes you just need to drive a boring race that's uneventful, no mistakes. It's boring, but you're scoring the maximum points available to you.
Yeah, that's absolutely spot on. That's exactly what it is you just have to have that consistency. You need to get the points in the bag, and he's doing a really, really good job. I believe this would actually move Tariq up to the top of the championship. We'll confirm that once all the standings are updated. So I think that would put that would put Tariq Adam. No, it wouldn't put him up to the top just now. It would take him closer. It would certainly put him above Philippe Minard and the George Boothby for sure, but it wouldn't put him at the top of the championship. As Christian Venter there onto the back of Philip Venter. And this is going to be, it's going to be an interesting one, because it's safe to say, Tapelo, that Mercedes has not been the fastest tonight, and especially in these dry conditions, seems to be struggling even more right now.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're starting to see its huge disadvantage in just how it takes the corners. The McLaren is so much more stable in the corners, and it's sad when you're the driver in this kind of situation, because what else can you do? You can bring your A game, but if your car's not matching you, then it's damage limitation. It's all about how many positions can I at least hold. But yeah, not much you can do there. As you see, Christian Fencer just diving up the inside. So much more confidence, so much more grip on these dry tires, and he should easily start pulling away.
Well, that's what we're keeping an eye on through this final quarter of an hour here in the 60-minute race, as the Mercedes just kind of falls away to the background into nothingness. It's been a very difficult day for that car. Just looking up through the order here, I think with the exception of Manuel Meyer and Christian Deploy, the three Genesis Esports cars, I think everybody's kind of doing their own thing. They're kind of in their own little battle right now. They're in their own little pocket of space here.
Yeah, for sure. I think the race has somewhat settled down. But don't count it out just yet, because like we said last week, we saw it last week actually, we called it that in the last 5 minutes, the last 10 to 5 minutes, things tend to come to you. So you need to be opportunistic, you need to look at what's happening around you on track. Drivers can still make mistakes, because like we said, as much as it's drying, but usually some of the curbs and grass, if you put 2 tires on the grass, you might lose it. So there's still a lot to play for, Last race we had changes of position in the last 2 minutes of the race, in the last lap, so it's not over until it's over. So as a driver, you just need to maintain your pace here.
And again, we saw some incredible last minute action and last minute drama here, but I just get the feeling that the pace is kind of neutered out a little bit here, certainly with the likes of Tariq Adam and Luke Whitehead being about 4.5 seconds away from each other. Luke Addison still about 11 seconds back. Let's talk though a little bit about Tariq Adam though just now for Genesis Esports. So obviously on the back of that fantastic performance at Bathurst Mount Panorama, taking second place, that moved him up into P4. But again, it was a disappointing start to the season, and only scoring in round 2 and round 3. I guess it's counted where it matters, and with that drop round, every race matters from this point.
Most definitely. And I think what I'm liking about Tariq, what he's done today is He did something that we spoke about last week. He looks so confident in his driving, but today I think he's going to notch up. He doesn't look flustered. He's maintaining the gap brilliantly at the front. You know, the conditions changed. He adapted really well. That's what you need from a driver. And it's fine to start badly in the championship. It's not ideal, but it's okay if you can bounce back and be consistent. And like we said, 2 races now. Last race he was on the podium, he was in 2nd place, and this race is in the lead. That's the kind of uptick in form that you need going forward in the season.
Yeah, momentum is definitely on the side of Tariq Adam right now, and if we treat it the same way as we would an endurance race, like you said, it's almost easier to have a mistake or a hiccup at the start of the season rather than towards the end. Towards the end, it can be crucifying. It can be the death knell of a championship run. But in the early part of it, you can recover, especially with that drop rounds coming into plays. We're seeing Niall Bullion in for a drive-through penalty. Surprised we've only handed 2 drive-through penalties, which again, I believe are track limit related there, with it being such a tight twisted circuit, especially earlier on with the weather as well. I was expecting quite a few more drive-through penalties.
I think that's testament to the skill of these drivers. You know, I think it's fair to say we got a bit worried about the kind of racing we'll see. We thought it's a difficult track. The conditions were not great. They were not favorable for the drivers, but they've put in the practice. They've put in the hours. You know, they're focused now, and you're right. The fact that we have 2 drive-through penalties is astonishing, but that's what I'm saying. It's a testament to how good these drivers are, how confident they are in what they're doing, and just why we love the sport.
Yeah, it also makes me very jealous to wish that I had their consistency and their pace. In fact, either one of those 2, I'd settle for either of them just now. We're seeing Paul Fencer, though, just ahead of Jimmy Holm now. The homing missile cruising in onto the back of that Mercedes just now. It's going to be a question of when, not if. You get the feeling that this Ferrari is going to get past the Mercedes. And again, the Mercedes hasn't had the best of runs today, but it seems the way that specific car is set up as well, really struggling in these dry conditions. I wonder, maybe picking up possibly some damage there to Pello from all of the incidents that they were involved in earlier on.
That's highly likely, especially considering that they've been running in the mid to lower pack. You know, it's very congested there during the race. And you're right, setup might also play a role in it. You know, maybe they lean too much into the wet race setup. But yeah, the Mercedes hasn't looked promising today. It's just a struggle, and you have to hang in there in a race like this. You know, I think he's doing really well to still be in the top 15. But you feel the longer this race goes on, the more fatigued he'll be, and then it should be an easy pass for home.
Well, again, it's a case of fatigue is such a dangerous thing here in sim racing, because it doesn't manifest itself in the way that you think it does. It doesn't manifest itself in the whole, oh, I'm feeling very, very sleepy, as Henry Meyer goes very, very deep into the chicane, compromises his exit. That could leave him very vulnerable there to Christian Duploy, but that almost caught him off guard there with Manuel just in front, how quickly he closed up to that car. And the 3 of them will be wanting to avoid any sort of dramatics here and keep things going. But going back to fatigue, to Pello, is, you know, it's a very, very interesting thing, because, you know, it's not like the drivers go, oh, sleepy, oh my good God, Christian Deploy from 2 weeks. That was wild. He thought better of it. I think he just completely missed his braking marker there. But from 2 weeks ago, Christian Duploy tries to send it up the inside. He wants that 8th position from Henry Meyer.
You see, this is what we were talking about. The last 10 to 5 minutes of the race heat up, because like we're talking about that fatigue. Drivers get fatigued and drivers start to get opportunistic. The move will be there if you're brave enough to brake just that 2 meters later than your opponent. You should get the move.
Oh, that could have been seconds from disaster, episode number 24 here in the sim racing circles, but thankfully avoided by the pair of them, as George Boothby has done a fastest lap of the race. Now, Boothby wants that 4th position back. He's certainly not going to get 3rd position from the looks of it here right now, but fastest man on the track right now, 1.7. if you're Abe Santima, that is the last car you want to have in your rear view mirrors right now.
He's sweating heavy. His seat is drenched. I don't know how he's holding on to his steering wheel right now, because the panic must be setting in, and we saw this as well, before the drive-through penalty. Boothby was actually looking fairly solid. Even in the wet, he was consistent, and the drive-through penalty was unfortunate, but now he seems to have the pace. He's driving angry. He's a man on a mission.
Charging. That is exactly what George Boothby is doing right now. And have a look from Abe Santima's wing right now on board with the Thomas Eng sim racing car just now. Excuse me, as that is a huge dive up in performance for George Boothby. He is pushing that car with everything that he's got right now.
For sure. And, is there a better time to try and go for an overtake? No. I think this is the best time to push for all you've got. I think the tyres will make it. You won't fall off that drastically towards the end. Try and force the driver in front of you to make a mistake. I think that's all Boothby's hoping for, is that he can be quick and force Santima into a mistake, force him to miss a braking zone. There's so many things that could go wrong in this phase of the race. So if you've got the speed, if you've got the pace, if you've got the confidence, go all out. It's either you're getting the position or you stay where you are.
Yeah, and for me, with 7 minutes left to go, almost 8 minutes left to go in this race, as much as I am loving this job by Abe Santima to get himself up into P4, I think it's going to be a very, very tall order to see him hold onto this position from the behemoth that is George Boothby. But stranger things have happened in this Kaizen Championship so far. And again, you can see picture in picture on the right, you see George Boothby on the left-hand side. We're looking at the rear view mirror from Abe Santima. At the moment, all he has to do is just drive his own race, just push that car and do his own thing right now. The last thing you want to be doing is driving in your mirrors and make George Boothby work that car a little bit more than he needs to, and potentially exceed the track limits a couple of times, and that would not go down very, very well nonetheless. But 6 minutes left to go here, and getting your crystal ball out here, Tapello, what do you think the chances are here for Santina? Do you think it's a case of a matter of time?
It's getting a bit tricky to call. Because what I want to see is how well he closes up into the braking zones. Santima's doing really well just to maintain, get his traction right, getting out of corners. As you can see, they're coming out of turn 14. He actually had a much better exit than Boothby. So it's all about those little moments where you can extend. I think if Boothby can get 2 or 3 more positive fast laps, he should be looking at the overtake, but right now Santima is doing a fairly good job of keeping him behind and maximizing where he can, which seems to be the exits of these medium to slow corners.
Absolutely fascinating in these dying moments of the race here, just to bring you up to speed in your top 5 so far. Tariq Adam with a commanding 4.5 second lead ahead of Luke Whitehead. Luke Addison in 3rd position there with Abe Santima is hunted right now. That's the only word I could use here for George Boothby. Hunted. It's like a sniper rifle in the scope there for George Boothby, and Santima is the prey with 5.5 minutes left to go. As Giovanni Porzio in 6th position, Nicholas Manuel in 7th, Henry Meyer in 8th, Christian Deploy in 9th. And you've got to say that is a really good position gained in 10th position there for Daniel de Matos Pareto there in that number 5 Ferrari. So a decent job there. But again, it just shows how much the two Venters have fallen away from that top 10 fight.
Most definitely, and we spoke about this as well. The times when the two fences were going at each other, making contact, slowing themselves down ultimately, it gave the onus on other drivers just to maximize on that time loss so they can get the positions. Ultimately, sometimes in a race, you need to learn how to pick your battles, and if that means letting a faster car go by so that they can drag you up the race circuit, that's what you need to do, because those 10 minutes where you're fighting so heavily ultimately will impact the next 30 to 40 minute stint that's coming right up.
Yeah, exactly. But as we see, Christian Deploy then onto the back again of Henry Meyer. And is that going to be a move for position? You'd like to hope that saner heads have prevailed and decided that it is done and dusted for them just now, but we'll wait and see. Back to this fight then for P4 just now. Abe Santima again just ahead of George Boothby, but now closer than ever before as they come through 6 and 7. What has Boothby got left in the tank here? Because there's only 4 minutes left to go. Surely it's not going to be a lunge. Surely it's not going to be a wild move from Boothby. Again going wide. He's going to have to watch here, Tapello. Going to have to watch those track limit excursions.
Yeah, he's running it very, very close. It's a bit of a risky tactic, you know. Maybe he's overdriving a bit because he's feeling the pressure now. He's being overly aggressive, but you're right. He has to watch those track limits. You know, nothing will kill his race more than another penalty. And I think if that happens, then he'll have nothing or no one else to blame but himself. But he's close enough. He just needs to be smooth and cool, and that move will come to him.
Let's see how this is all going to pan out then, because we've only got 2 laps left to go here. Your race leader now still 4.5 seconds as they are starting the penultimate lap of the race. But look at how much Boothby having to fight and saw with that wheel, as again Santima gets a much better drive out of that final corner here. But look at the gap now. It's very, very close here as Jimmy Holm gets a 10-second penalty. The homing missile is not going to be making any positions up there. I get a feeling that might have been onto the back of Paul Fenter as Boothby goes in at 1, and that's wide there from Santima. It's going to be the run through 1A and down into 2. What has Boothby got left? He looks to the inside. He's going to try to go to the outside. Santima has that covered though, places the car right in the middle of the track, and Boothby has a good run out of that, down into 3 then, that jinking right-hander. Boothby again breaching track limits. He's going to have to be so careful here not to get another drive-through penalty. That would absolutely destroy his race. At what point, at what price do you want to get that 4th place right now? Because I'm very, very concerned that Boothby is really pushing these track limits again.
Yeah, I think at this point he's driving with his toes crossed, that the stewards might have taken a blink when he crossed those white lines, but he's pushing, and this is why I'm saying he needs to push, but he also needs to be cognizant, drive within himself, because nothing will kill his race more right now than another penalty. And you know, you've got what, 1 minute 47 seconds to go in the race. This is not the time to get a penalty, because that penalty is going to be huge coming into the final classification.
Certainly will, but the gap is just 0.4 of a second in this fight for 4th and 5th position. Your race leader, Tariq Adam, has already started what will be, I believe, the final lap of the race. We'll double check that very, very shortly, but with 1:25 left to go, it's going to be nip and tuck. He went over with 1:45 left to go. Boothby pulls out to the outside line, but again going down to turn 1 isn't going to have the inside line. It's all going to be whether or not Santima holds on to that turn 1. But again, Tariq Adam here, we keep our eye on 4.8 seconds ahead here. Again, in the clear so far, what could be, we're not sure. It's going to be very, very close to call whether or not this is the final lap or not, because 48 seconds left to go. He might just be on the exit of 14 on the run down when he actually crosses that start-finish line just now. But it's still Santima just ahead of Boothby. You can see that at the bottom left, or the left-hand side of your track map just now. But Tapello, Tariq Adam, just a sensational drive from him today.
Look, I tip my hat off to him, you know. Like we said at the start of this race, the conditions were so difficult, the conditions were so tricky. And we saw it with the going into the pits, the pit window as well. You know, so many drivers thought about going a bit early, some drivers thought about going late. Tariq Adam kept his cool, kept to his strategy, and is reaping the benefits of that assured and confident drive.
And there we go, Tariq Adam crosses
the flag. Perfect.
Yep. That's it. Tariq Adam takes the win. Luke Whitehead in second place. We need to cut our attention back though to Santima and Boothby. Luke Addison is going to take P3, and Santima is still ahead of Boothby just now. I think Santima is just done enough. What a drive from Abe Santima to take that 4th position. George Boothby in P5, Giovanni Porzio in 6th position, Nicholas Manuel in 7th, Henry Meyer is going to come across the line in 8th position, Christian Deploy in 9th, and then it's Daniel De Mateus Preto in 10th position but what a performance for Genisus Esports. I think they are going to be absolutely delighted with a huge haul of points here tonight.
Yeah, most definitely. You know, it was a difficult race. The conditions didn't favor them at all. So for a team to have that many drivers in the top 10, like I said, I got to listen to a few guys warming up for the race, you know, doing some practice runs, and they sounded confident that they could conquer these conditions, and that's exactly what they did today. Super performance. Tip my hat off to all of them.
Awesome stuff as the final cars coming across the line then. But there we go. A fantastic win there for Tariq Adam. Luke Whitehead in second position and then Luke Addison in P3. We'll give it a couple of minutes before we get the drivers in to have a post-race chat. We usually get a chance to speak with the top 3 as well, but we'll see how many we can squeeze in tonight. But Tapello, round 4 is in the bag. It started off very tricky with those changeable conditions, very wet at the beginning, but the second half of the race was just a real push to the end.
Fantastic racing all around, you know. Yes, we saw some incidents, we saw some crashes, we saw some spins, but that was to be expected. I think you said it during the race, and I can say it again, it's actually shocking how well they raced. So it was a brilliant race, and dare I say, every time we sit here, you and I, David, and it's so fun, it's an experience, I get excited for the next race even more. It doesn't matter what track we're going to. It doesn't matter the conditions. The Kaizen principle is fully alive and up for our demonstration. These guys are getting more confident and better with each passing race.
Yep. Execute, review, improve, and execute again. Brilliant stuff. Let's chat to our race winner then, Tariq Adam. Tariq, welcome in, my friends. A dominant performance. You started right at the front. It was a scary moment on the turn 1 of lap 1, but after that, you must have just been looking in your rear view mirrors.
Yeah, it was good. Quality was good. Race start here was a bit sketchy, but we got through it. It was most important, and yeah, the car was amazing in the wet. It was on rails, and then as soon as it started to dry and the rain stopped, it was a bit more difficult. Tires weren't dry, fuel was a bit dry, and the car was just understeering, but we made it, so that's all that matters.
Talk us through those first couple of laps, because the conditions very difficult out there, but you're saying that the car felt like it was on rails tonight.
Yeah, I did most of my practice in the wet. I didn't actually do any dry practice, so I was expecting the Lambo to be faster, so after those first couple of laps I was quite surprised that I was pulling away, but yeah, I just kept it consistent and trying to build the gap, because I knew I would lose a bit in the dry.
And obviously a fantastic first part of the season for you. I believe that's going to move you up probably around about second or third place in the championship with the drop round factored in. Are you going to be able to make all of the rounds, the rest of the rounds of the season?
Yeah, I should be able to. So it's going to be a Dutch championship. Quite exciting for that.
And, looking ahead to the remaining 8 rounds that are on the calendar, what are your favourite rounds coming up?
I think I'm looking forward to Barcelona. I quite like that track, so, and the car's decently good there, so yeah.
Excellent stuff, Tariq. Well, listen, congratulations. Is there anybody you want to send thanks out to tonight?
Yeah, just for the team for the incredible support, and yeah, just always pushing each other.
Excellent stuff. Well, listen, congratulations, Tariq. Well done on the race win, and we'll speak to you hopefully at some point next week.
Yeah, hopefully. Cool. Thanks, guys.
Excellent stuff. So there's your race winner then, Tariq Adam. Let's go and have a chat with Luke Whitehead, our second place finisher just now. Luke, second place. You didn't really have anything in the tank to catch up to Tariq tonight then?
Yeah, unfortunately not. First off, good evening everyone. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I mean, the car sucked in the wet. It's as simple as that, really. Don't know whether it's my setup, maybe it was the car, maybe it's a skid issue, I don't know. Maybe a combo of all 3, who knows, something ruled that out. But from my side anyway, I just didn't have anything in the wet. I knew I'd be quicker in the dry, and that was kind of shown. I could have gone a lot quicker in the dry, had a couple of attempts in my pocket there, but once I knew I wasn't going to catch Tariq, I was just kind of went into auto drive, just kind of chilled out, sat back, put an armchair out, and chilled. So yeah, it was a bit unfortunate, but I'm happy nonetheless. Given that as I said, I struggled in the Lambo and the wet. Knew the McLaren would be extremely good in the wet, and that was shown today. So yeah, happy with second. Bit unfortunate for George getting that DT. Otherwise, I think he'd have been in this step of the podium, but nonetheless, I can't really complain. But yeah, I mean, Tariq was untouchable, so GG's to him, and also GG to Luke, to Lazarson, to bring home P3 as well. Good result from those boys.
Right, now we've got the serious business out of the way, Luke. I have to dip into my journalistic integrity here and ask you that tweet from your stream last night. What? What happened there?
Well, it was Halloween last night, obviously. So I thought, do you know what? Have a little fun stream and dress up in a costume. And I thought, what would get the most clicks? Would it be ADG? No. Would it be an army officer? No. Would it be Saw or something? No. Would it be something that would completely destroy my self-esteem and make myself look like a complete nutcase on stream? I reckon it'd be that one. So yeah, went with that one, and the rest, I suppose, is history.
What I want to know, Luke, is what did you search on Amazon to find that? What was the keywords that you used for that?
I'd rather not say. It was just made outfit. So I mean, it was as easy as that, really. But yeah, I mean, if anyone on stream wants to search it, it's there. So well, regrettably, it's me my search history now. So I mean, and I think the delivery man must have had a bit of a laugh, given the day before he delivered a set of headphones. So a bit of a genre twist, I suppose.
I can't wait to see the targeted ads you're about to get, Luke Whitehead, for the next couple of months. But listen, congratulations!
Oh, don't worry, they've already started.
Congratulations on second place, and look forward to potentially chatting with you next week.
Fingers crossed. Take care, guys. Have a good one.
So there we go. Luke Whitehead then having a chat with us from second place. Let's have a chat then with third place. Luke Addison is joining us. Luke, congratulations on P3. A bit of a wet and wild race for the first half of it, but it must have looked like you possibly could have had a little bit out of Luke towards the end there.
Oh, thank you very much. The race was interesting. It was a full wet setup. So I was hoping and praying it wasn't going to be dry. I practiced my brake marker in T1, but then it actually didn't work in the race, and I completely busted it. I still think, obviously, P3 was the best result I could have had, because George and Luke were a bit too quick for me. I was surprised by the pace in the dry, but I think P3, happy with it, the best I could have done today.
And obviously, a long season ahead for you next week, off to Donington. What's your thoughts on that?
Donington is probably one of my favorite tracks, so I'm hoping to get a strong result there. Ferrari isn't the best car there. I'd potentially prefer to be in a BM. But yeah, I feel it's quite a good, strong track for me. But yeah, overall the race today, the commentary, thank you to you guys. Thank you to Gareth for giving me this opportunity, and for all the other participants, the stewards, etc., etc. You guys have done an amazing job, so appreciate that.
We love hearing those comments, Luke, and listen right back at you. Huge thank you for providing an entertaining show today. Congratulations on third place, and we'll speak to you next week.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Enjoy, guys.
So there we go, Luke Harrison in third position there. And Tapello, that is us for another week. Can you believe it? Hungaroring has come and gone in the blink of an eye.
And just like that, the season keeps going on. So much fun, such competitive racing. I think that's why we all want to be here. That's what it's all about. I urge everyone who's listening to the stream and who is listening to all other streams, just reserve your Wednesday night for this championship, for our chats. It is absolutely amazing, and it can only get better going on from here.
Certainly can. The first third of the season here is done and dusted at the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship. Next week, we move to Blighty, Donington Park, in the 8th of November. Then it's Spa, Nürburgring and Barcelona. That is what is up at stake here for November here with the Genisus Esports Kaizen Championship. Huge thank you to Daniel Costello and the team behind the scenes at Sim Sports Solution. A huge thank you to Tapello Marioli joining myself, David Christie, here in the commentary box, bringing you all the action here tonight. Do not go anywhere. We will be back same time, same place next week. And a huge thank you to all you at home out there as well for watching. And we will see you same time, same place. Keep it locked, and we'll see you next week.